Working Class Beer Reviews is looking at Samuel Adams Boston Lager Remastered. Now, I saw this because it made me sad, and I'm sorry, I know the lighting and stuff is horrible in here. It's evening time. I should have done this during the day. I just didn't get around to it. Um, when I saw this, I'm like, man, I never did Boston Lager before, and it was always around. I don't know why I never grabbed it. It just wasn't in my rotation, I guess. So apparently it's been remastered. Um, it's pry off. It's got the normal Samuel Adams bottle cap, and right there at the top of the label it says remastered, and it says it on the back too. What's a normal Samuel Adams bottle? So I've got this old style lager chalice looking thing. You might have seen these in some of the old Budweiser advertisements and stuff. I chose it because this is a lager. Let that build up and look at this. So I'm at the Boston Lager website, and it talks about the origin of the beer. It says in 1984, we made Boston Lager so American drinkers could enjoy the full flavored beer they deserved. It helped start the craft beer revolution we enjoy today. We have to be crazy to change it, right? We are crazy, but we didn't change our recipe. We're constantly chasing perfection in a glass of beer, which honestly is impossible, but we keep trying. Through the decades of brewing improvements, Boston Lager is now brighter and easier to drink than ever, all without changes to the flavor that made you fall in love with craft beer. So obviously it has something to do with the processing of it. It is 5% ABV, 30 IBUs, 175 calories. So it's not a light beer. It's a full flavored beer. Malts are Samuel Adams 2-row pale, malt blend, and caramel 60. Hops are Hallertau Mittelfrüh and Tettnanger Noble hops from Bavarian growers. Yeast is Samuel Adams lager yeast, so they have their own house yeast that they use. They must have been using since 1984. I actually went to Beer Advocate and just looked at the standard Samuel Adams, and it kind of just says similar stuff. 5%. It gets a score of 84. So this is craft-ish, but now it's mass-produced, and they contract brew for all sorts of other people. They do like Twisted Tea and one of the seltzer brands. I can't remember what it is. So they do all sorts of stuff now as a larger company. Their description here says 4 ingredients painstakingly chosen every year. We traveled to Bavaria to hand select Hallertau Mittelfrüh hops and the high American plains for the finest 2-row summer barley. We cultivate our own lager yeast and personally sample every batch. All our hard work goes into brewing this distinct, flavorful, and complex beer for you. Cheers. So that's Beer Advocate. I'm just using it for a reference. I'm honestly surprised they're still getting a high score because anything mass-produced they tend to knock down. So what do we got? The light is awful, and I'm sorry. So it says it's a Vienna style lager. So a Vienna style lager is not going to be your straw pale lager. It's going to be kind of a reddish caramel color. And that's kind of what we got here. Can you see that? Yeah, reddish caramel color. Still, white spongy head. 5%, that's a benchmark for lagers, American lagers. So 84, this is after Sierra Nevada, but before the big boom of craft brews that came in the late 80s to early 90s. So they were considered one of the forerunners along with Sierra Nevada, Anchor, and all those different companies like that. So there's stories out there, and I'm sure if you watch other people's beer reviews that did way more research than me, I want to say the owner, Jim Cook, made this in his kitchen off of some old recipe that he had found. I don't know if it's a family recipe or just something handed down to him from someone else, and that's what he came to with this recipe, and then obviously started to mass produce it. And so when we get into the beer itself here, So this is my first time trying the remastered. Well, I say that I bought a 6 pack. This is like the last one left, but I wanted to save it for review. But the 6 pack that I bought was the first one that I ever had of the remastered. I have had the original, and I've had it in bottles, cans, and draft. So we smell. You smell like a caramely maltiness. Not really. You don't get really anything from hoppiness, bitterness in the aroma. So it's very malty in its aroma. It's clear. It's got that kind of reddish caramel color that I don't want to say rust or anything like that, but it's super clear and filtered. It's pretty. I will say that it's a pretty pour, and it's still got a thin head that's retaining. And you watch me pour it. I don't think that it's bottle conditioned or anything. It is a pry off. I will say that. So it's not a twist off. They may have been twist offs for a while at some point, but I don't know. They may have always been pry offs because they've always kind of made themselves be like a craft beer. I mean, because they were a craft beer. Just because they're more mass produced doesn't make them their product any lesser. Yeah, so you get that kind of that malty note. It is more subdued than I recall earlier versions of Boston Lager being. So they said the recipe hasn't changed. So something in the processing has made it. Um, I don't want to say lighter, but they say easier drinking. So they've kind of made it. They've subdued it a little bit, but it looks the same. I will say that it tastes good. Maybe it's a little less heavy in the mouthfeel and the flavor than it was before. Um, Beer Advocate does not give the calories or anything like that. On the back of the bottle it says, "Our timeless pursuit of perfection has led to this remastered Boston Lager, made easier drinking through decades of improvements. It's the beer you love, remastered. Jim Koch, founder and brewer." So, Koch, Koch. It's kind of like the chicken company too, Koch. Um, yeah, so Samuel Adams is widely distributed here. There was a time where I partook of Samuel Adams a lot more than I do now, mainly because of price. Um, what did they have? They had like the Rebel Rouser. You know, when they started coming out with kind of hoppier stuff, you know, they were kind of stuck with the traditional, and then they kind of got into different stuff over time. I remember the first time I tried this, I didn't really care for it when I was younger, like in my early 20s. It's too full flavored for me. I was more of a light beer drinker. But I will tell you the one I did like was the cherry wheat. And I don't ever see that anymore. And so if any of you guys that watch this, if you guys remember Cherry Wheat by Samuel Adams, let me know. And they used to have all these different sampler packs. They had a black lager. They've done porters. They do some sort of like, it's like $500 you can get up in Boston, but it's like 40% alcohol or something like that. But it's like a beer, but obviously you can't sell that in all 50 states because a lot of them have regulations on how strong beer can be. But I remember watching, on social media, if you watch Bruzel, he does a lot of the whiskey tastings and different challenges, and people talk about what to mix, and he talks about what's better. But I don't know if he bought one or if he was gifted one of the Samuel Adams, it's just like almost, I don't know if it's even distilled, so it could just be just brewed, heavily malted. So it'd be like a barley wine of some sort. But I thought that was kind of neat, and it comes in a neat looking decanter, almost like a cognac decanter. But they're a big company out of Boston, Massachusetts. Like I said earlier, they do all sorts of other contract with other brands. Actually, let me look. I'm on the Wi-Fi on here. I bet if I look, it'll tell me what brands they own. Well, you know what? This I feel like this is gonna be dead space, and this is a big no-no. When it comes to videos, you don't want that dead space. Let's go to Wikipedia. I mean, Wikipedia is not always the most accurate. Oh, it wants to go to the president. I know they have a Wikipedia page. Boston Beer Company. That's what it's under. All right, products. They do a hard sell. Oh, Truly. Okay, so they own Truly. Yeah. Angry Orchard, Twisted Tea. They did a partnership with Wine Stefan in 2009. So there you go. So if you've had a Truly or a Twisted Tea or an Angry Orchard, that is Boston Beer Company. Sorry about that big pause. That's ugly. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, they've made all sorts of stuff, and over the years they've made so many products. I can't keep up with them all. They are much more reduced down to a core than they were before. I think that was just a fad. Before everybody tried everything, and they just wanted to give her. It's kind of one of those they throw it at the wall and see what sticks, kind of thing. And they had some good wins, and some of those it's kind of some of those things. Sierra Nevada and Boulevard have done it too, where they've had products in the past that were huge wins, and they quit making them. I'm like, why? Why would you quit making them? With Sierra Nevada, it's their Rootless Rye IPA. Oh, I love that stuff. It used to come in sampler packs, and that's the only way I could get it. So anytime I saw a sampler IPA pack or some sort of sampler that had Ruthless Rye, I would always buy it. And Boulevard used to have this one called Lunar Ale. It's like a amber ale of some sort. It was delicious too. And I used to have because Boulevard came in the actually enclosed boxes. They're a little bit shorter of bottles, stubbier bottles. I used to have a collection of all their boxes, and I eventually got rid of them. But Samuel Adams, though, this is kind of the craft beer bottle that's like kind of slender, long neck bottle to pry off. Michelob actually turned to this. I feel like when they got rid of the curvy bottle, this is kind of what Michelob went to, and shock top and all that stuff. So Anheuser-Busch kind of followed in step with Samuel Adams. So they were a bit of a trendsetter. Um, what craft beer bottles were kind of supposed to look like. And since they're pry-offs, people that did home brewing love Samuel Adams beer bottles because they're perfect for home brewing. Wash them out, wash the labels off. I think the labels come off pretty easy on those. So overall, did they hurt it? Did they destroy it? No, they didn't destroy it. It tastes good. Um, they just kind of subdued the character a little bit to make it more palatable to regular beer drinkers. So longtime Samuel Adams drinkers are going to probably scoff at this. They're going to, but I don't think they're ever going to go back. This is just a refinement of the process. Pretty much, I think all beer companies have done this over the years at some point, because there's a lot of people that say that, Bud Miller and Coors don't taste the same as they did, decades ago. So I'm sure at some point, as machinery becomes more high tech and automated, that the process is going to change the product in small, minute ways. But for some people, it's going to be noticeable. Because I do remember the regular Boston Lager having a bit. I want to say sharper, and I don't know if that's accurate, but it just was a little more pronounced flavor, and they've kind of just rounded the edge off. So think of a countertop. Instead of having a square edge, they bullnosed it. They bullnosed the edge and just took and rounded the edge off a little bit. So woodworkers will probably know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that. So they bullnose the edge, and it's still there. It's still got good flavor, but it's just a little more rounded, and they just kind of shaped, just massaged and shaped it a little bit. So it's still good. I would highly recommend this over, well, not over anything, but along with other craft beers. Even though it is more mass produced, it's still like a quasi craft company. But like New Belgium and all those, Sierra Nevada, Stone, um, Lagunitas, it is what it is. But anyway, if you've had this, let me know. How does it compare to the original Samuel Adams Boston Lager? Are you a fan of Boston Lager? Vienna lagers are kind of a niche when it comes to the American lager thing. It's kind of hard to really distinguish what a Vienna lager is, compared to regular adjunct American lagers. Now, I think there was a time they may have used adjuncts and they switched back. They kind of bounced back and forth. Michelob did the same thing. But as far as the recipe it says now, it says it's because I've heard some people say that it had kind of a cornbread type flavor to the original Boston Lager at certain points, not all the time. So that's another part of the refining of the recipe, the process, and they try things and they see if it works. If it's noticeable, if it doesn't work, they go back. It is what it is. So, but it's still a good product. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.